All right, Reggie, after probably about 10 years doing phone interviews, we have finally gotten with the times and we're going video.
Exactly.
So it
Exactly.
seems
Stepping
only
up our
right
game
to,
over here on Bomb First, y'all. So you other YouTube channels better watch out now. We're about to take over.
yeah. So it only seemed fitting to have you do the first one, obviously. So yeah, we'll get into some stuff. But if there's anything you want to talk, speak on before we get into it, feel free.
Yeah, I just want y'all to also go and subscribe to John's Bomb First Facebook Watch channel. John, you can put up the description and on the board, and so people can know how to go and subscribe to our Facebook Watch um, page, and then also, John, if you also do me a solid, and our boy, I always talk about him, but 57 years old, y'all just don't know how the letters y'all was mailing me when I was locked down, and the birthday cards. I think I got about 20 or 30 birthday cards, and how they put a big smile on my face. And definitely, if you got any fine sisters or something like that, send him some eye candies. But our boy Suge Knight birthday coming up, April the 19th, and it's like a month away, a little less than a month away. But y'all shoot that nigga a card, and just say y'all heard about it from Bomb First, or just tell him y'all hate him, y'all love him, appreciate what he did, or send him some pictures. I'm sure he'd be glad. So, John, if you can just put up how people can get a hold to him, I'd like to see if you can do that for him. Y'all can put in the card that y'all heard about it on Bomb First. We'll appreciate that as well. But yeah, that's about it. Just, glad, John, you decided to go ahead and we're going to step up our game, and we're going to try to give y'all segments, not just with Reggie, but with other people. Do some interviews, and we're going to got a little cameraman that we welcome them to the team. So that's the Bomb First team. So, yeah. So, cool, John.
All right. So recently, Gene Deal did an interview with Art where he was talking about the situation with Biggie, and he had mentioned that Phil Carson had told him that the original intended target instead of Biggie was going to be Puffy, but Gene went on to say that police he initially said Rafael Perez and David Mack worked security at death row, that they carried out the situation that happened with Biggie, and that either them or other cops that he referred to as rogue cops were seen at the Peterson and were seen at the scene of what happened, kicking shells and picking up shells. Do you have any comments or reaction to what he's saying basically?
Well, all I can say is Phil Carson, anything that he gets is secondhand. He was never assigned to work or share information with homicide detectives assigned to the murder case. The FBI just didn't have that jurisdiction, and they wasn't assigned to that particular case. So Phil was assigned to work the Rampart scandal investigation, which they never even convicted anyone or on federal charges or anything. But that's either here or there. But Gene based that on what Phil's saying, so I'm not calling Gene a liar or anything. I'm just saying that, number one, I can sit there and honestly say that Rafael Perez and David Mack has never worked for myself or Death Row Records prior to 1994. After 1994. Prior to 1994, I can't say because I wasn't around. I'll just say that from now on. Secondly, it's been proven that the cop that was allegedly there that signed they have what they call a log that you have to sign everybody to be on a scene. It wasn't Rafael Perez. It was somebody else named R. Perez. And Greg Katie's done spoke on it many times, and they done proved who that particular officer was. It was not Rafael Perez. Something lost. Okay. It wasn't Rafael Perez. So that's here or there. So now they saying they saw them at the scene. They saw Amir Muhammad at the scene, and all these people putting themselves at the scene in a car that's registered to David Mack, and they're going to use that to do a shooting or a hire. That wasn't spontaneous. That's a planned hire. You have to be the stupidest in the world to do that, if you want to think about it. Nobody's going to use their car to go and do a murder that's planned out and supposed to be as professional as those cops going to do it. But you little kids want to believe that. So go ahead and believe that. All I can say is, hey, no boys have never mentioned, nobody has ever proved that they worked for Death Row. Definitely have never mentioned my name. No evidence of them ever knowing me or Suge, but other than Phil Carson making these accusations because he's disgruntled about being told by his superiors that there's nothing there. Stop investigating. You better move on, Phil. That's what his superiors told him. And so he's, in my mind, just as crazy and kookaloo as Russell Poole, as we all.
Okay. Can you speak a little bit about any interactions or experiences you had with Afeni, both when Tupac was still alive and at the label, and then experiences working with her after Tupac had passed to put out some of the music that you put out through Death Row that was Tupac material?
Yeah, prior to Tupac passing away, I only dealt with Miss Shakur on 2 different occasions that I remember. I took her shopping with Suge's mother. Us 3 went shopping in Beverly Hills. Suge gave each one of them $5,000 just to go and buy some clothes. So I took them to lunch and to dinner. Lunch and shopping. And then at the Mother's Day event, saw her, wished her happy Mother's Day. And there. Those are the only times I remember her being in town if she wasn't at the house, either on Wilshire or Calabasas. She definitely was never around the studio or at any video shoots or anything like that. Afterwards, now, the first time I saw her after Tupac's death was at the hotel. We went to the hotel and she was in a very positive mood then, kind of eerie in my opinion, but knowing her now, that was just her way of dealing and coping with his death, because there was a bunch of people in the room and she was the one being uplifting and encouraging everyone that was in the hotel in mourning, and was like, Pac's in a better place. Pac's cool. He's good. I made the right decision on letting him go. And so that was immediately after his death. So that would have been on September the 13th, probably about 5:30 or 6 o'clock p.m. Didn't see her anymore until then. Got a couple of calls from her because I'm the one that picked up. You got Danny Boy talking about he rolled back with the ashes, and people out there making everybody want to ride with the ashes, but not true. My boy James Green, I went and picked up the ashes, and my boy James Green flew back to him, and she called me a couple of times because they were planning to have a ceremony, which y'all done all heard me speak on, where they went to the beach and they rolled him up in a marijuana joint and smoked him, some of his ashes. That was their way of dealing with it. That was their reasoning for doing it, was because they said they always wanted to have Pac inside them or with them. And so, yeah. Then after that, I'm the one that took and delivered her the Machiavelli. Everybody always want to call it the euthanasia chain, but it's actually the Machiavelli chain, right, John? It had Machiavelli on it and not euthanasia, but the big chain I delivered to her at the W Hotel in Westwood, California, and I gave her the the medallion. Kind of felt bad once I gave it to her because the blood stains were still on the medallion. And she thanked me for delivering it to her in the as-is condition. So that was that time. Then, mainly to be honest, the next time I dealt with her was really with her staff, Molly, Tom Wally, his attorney, Donald David were the three that, and Dina LaPope. And then Outlaws, Edie and all of them, were the ones I kind of dealt with afterwards as far as getting the music together. Me and Edie and some of the Outlaws met at Skip Saylor's studio, where that's when I turned over all the music to him from the vault. That's why I laughed when everybody said Dad stole them. Now, everybody don't even know, before we even let Dad start working in the, with the music, all the music that we had was turned over to Interscope, actually. Interscope was supposed to be in like the person we trust, how, like our escrow. Interscope was going to hold all the music, and then Amaru and us couldn't touch it without each other's permission or authorization. And so that's what happened with the music on him. And that case was, which we'll get into, was, as far as the settlement agreement that we did. There were some issues what we was having on the album. Some of the albums, Suge didn't want Amaru to be on the back in the beginning of at the beginning of the agreement. He didn't want to give Amaru label imprint on the back. He was like, Tupac's my artist. He's a Death Row artist. Interscope is the distributor. That's the only name that's going to be on the back. And I don't even know if y'all noticed. I think I came up with the agreement to have no labels on the back to make one of the albums happen. If you see one of those first albums, y'all see there's no label on imprint on the back of any of the albums. I forget which album it was, but it's one of the first ones that was done. But then we eventually, go ahead.
I was just going to say that was the Still I Rise album.
Still I Rise, okay. So Still I Rise album, we didn't have any labels on the back. Because Suge felt that the Outlaws wasn't his artist and Pac was just a guest appearance, on those albums, so Amaru shouldn't be on the back. We later worked through it, and we ended up putting all three imprints on the back, and that was dealing with mainly her people, meaning Molly, Tom Wally, and Donald David. But I bring that up to say that's when I took her up to the prison personally to visit Suge. And that's where they, I learned they had a good relationship where both of them kind of was like, Suge was a little stern at first and she was a little stern, but it was mainly like a mother-son, how you talk to your mother when you're mad about something that they're not agreeing with. It was kind of a relationship like that they had. It was real, stern. Everybody was holding their position, but they eventually worked it out. She ended up leaving. And when we came back, we had an agreement in place, and we was able to put out 3 or 4 additional albums after that. And so that's why I always get mad at myself, knowing how, and I didn't really understand the era that we were in where people were disappointed with Death Row and mad at Death Row because they thinking they were robbing their artists I didn't really realize or was smart enough to understand how upset the public was with Death Row at the time. And if we would have just did a big press release or press conference saying, hey, we cool, the mama's cool. Everybody's good. Everybody's in a good place. We came up with a deal. We worked out the deal. And I think we would have, Death Row wouldn't have got as much backlash as it did in the 98, 99, 2000 era. But trust me, we were all good, because if not, Afeni wasn't a lady that needed a lot of money. She wouldn't have made none of the deals for money. That was the only thing for doing it, was making the deals, because we all know she did the movie during that point. She did another album with Jive Records. Prior to that, she had a $3 million settlement agreement from us. She was good. So she would have continued to sit on the music, or made nobody be able to do anything if we didn't work out the relationship with each other. And so to squash all of that Afeni and Suge had bad relationships, or she was upset, that's just not accurate or not the truth. But as we know, the idiot, the groupie say he wasn't ever a Tupac, or Tupac was never a Death Row artist, which is the craziest shit I ever heard.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to get into was what that guy said. So this random guy keeps throwing out documents and accusations about things. In his latest interpretation that he passes on as fact, he states that Death Row Records in 1996, right after Dr. Dre left, their bank account started to always be overdrawn. So I wanted to ask you about that. But then also what he mentioned was how Steve Cantrop, which you've discussed before, was one of the accountants that got caught embezzling money, that he basically stated that he was in hiding because Suge and people went to him and made him sign a false IOU saying that he had taken money. And that basically this guy is just saying that once Dr. Dre left, financial problems started to arise for the label, even while Tupac was still there. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
That's the craziest thing I heard, because he don't know, because he's a groupie and it's probably not on the internet. But if he go and research it, he might can find this one. We had just signed a $20 million guaranteed year advancement with Universal in August. I remember when we flew back in from Paris, whenever we shot the Michelet video, we flew straight from Paris to New York, and went and met with David Kenner, Jimmy Iovine, and what was that guy that ran MCA at the time? Doug Morris. Went and met with them. And Suge was getting $1.5 million advance a month to live off of. Plus, whenever he turned in albums, he was getting, when I say Suge, I'm talking about Death Row. Whenever he turned in albums, he would get a fee, and an album advancement. And he would get also, he had a deal with Warner Chappell, where he's getting music publishing. So that's crazy. But no, it's not as crazy as it sounds though. Because Suge was living off of American Express card. David Kenner had knew about reward points and all of that with airline tickets and all of that stuff. So everything we pretty much did, other than paying people salaries or bills and stuff like that, they put on the Amex card. They were spending probably about $1.5 million on American Express card. So when he got the $1.5 million advancement, he would go and just pay the American Express card off. And so that is how they were kind of living. And they were living month to month based only on things that shit was getting. Like he had just went out and bought a boat, where he paid almost $4 million for, called Simon and stuff like that, from his deal from Warner Chappell, which is all his. It has nothing to do with Death Row Records. And so he was buying things, and he had money because he had money coming in. And he had the money coming in from, like I said, every first of the month, he was getting $1.5 million to pay his artists. People don't know at that time, that's when Snoop was getting $50,000 a monthly. And, prior to Dre leaving, he was getting $125 a month, monthly, even though that didn't have anything to do with that particular deal. I don't know what their deal was that Suge was getting monthly, prior to that August deal. But But there was security bills that was getting paid. There was all type of bills that was getting paid out of that monthly. Did I say Pac? Pac was getting $75,000 monthly. And so, yeah, the counts probably was low. I don't remember them being low like that where nobody worried about checks getting counted, but it wasn't like he had 10 or 15, $20 million sitting in the bank. Now, Suge was spending it on either himself or artists or whatever as he got it. But like I said, he had a guaranteed $20 million a year coming in from Universal at that time. So what Dale Groupie is talking about, I have no idea. Steve Cantrock and David Kenner in about July or August did get caught in Suge mine with their hands in the cookie jar. And so that's when Suge told Tupac to fire David Kenner as his entertainment attorney. Suge Knight fired David Kenner as his entertainment attorney at that time. He had Paul Marshall. Most people don't know Paul Marshall was the one that mainly negotiated a lot of his deals for him with Interscope. Howard Keene. Dre had Howard Keene and Peter Lopez, or Peter Paterno, I forget his name, I think it's Peter Lopez, as his attorneys at that time. And so they all had different attorneys other than David Kenner eventually. But David was the one at a certain time in both of them life. But as an entertainment attorney, Suge was the one that suggested that they get rid of and get their own entertainment attorneys and stuff like that, since they have their own lawyers and I mean their own bank accounts and monthlies and all of that. He was trying to get them all self-sufficient and not just depending on David. And this David handled all the criminal stuff that was going on. So yeah, Steve Cantrock got caught with his hand in the cookie jar and was found because the IRS was lurking around. And when Suge learned that the IRS bills wasn't paid, that's when he started jumping up and down. It was like, hey, y'all gonna go take care of these bills. Y'all gonna go take care of this issue. Or Steve Cantrock, you need to go and tell your bosses what's going on, that you've been stealing from me. You ain't been taking care of the business you're supposed to. Because I want my money and I want this stuff taken care of. So that's the truth. And that's why Steve Cantrock did go into witness protection, not hiding, in witness protection with the FBI. Probably never moved. Just wasn't allowed to go to work at his office back in August. And that was because Suge did. And myself, I'm the other person that was there, went into his house, and we were the ones that confronted Cantrock and David Kenner on that particular night about, stealing. And then on that Sunday, when I wasn't there, but guess who was the other person with him, or who house they went to at the other person when he was allegedly supposed to took a Rolex from Steve Cantrock that he was wearing at the time, and the next day he went and told his firm what was going on and what was happening to him. The other big bad person was Michelet. It was at Michelet house where all of this took place at. So, yeah, Del Rey, he was roughed up and all of that.
Can you tell me a little bit about, so there's always this misconception that Tupac passed, Suge went to jail, and then Snoop immediately left. But in reality, Snoop stayed around until 1998, the beginning of 1998, when he left or was sold off from Death Row to No Limit. So can you talk to me a little bit about interacting, dealing with Snoop, and what Snoop was like to work with after Suge had went away, and what ultimately, in your mind, made him decide that he wanted to go elsewhere?
Okay. So now Snoop's accounting is this accounting firm on Olympic. It was a black guy. It wasn't no longer Gil Fan. Because like I said, Suge was making everybody break away and get their own management. I went to Hawaii with Snoop. And he had some guy that was calling themselves the management time when just me, Snoop, and Shantae went. That was there. So Snoop was always branching off with different managements or attorneys and stuff like that. But let me say this about Snoop. I talk bad about Snoop and all of that. That's just because of him trying to rewrite history. But Snoop is not a bad dude at all. He's always mal-mannered. He's a liar, but he's mal-mannered. He's always calm and composure. He's a lightweight comedian. He's funny as hell, really. But not confrontational or anything. People don't know we did a video, 2 video shoots during that time period while Suge was gone. We did the one with for the soundtrack with him walking in the elevator and all of that. I remember where he was just walking. There was a song with him, Wanted Dead of a Lie. He did that video. He did Midnight Love video, the one with Raphael Sadiq and all of that. We did an EP after that. I don't know if it ever came out or not. It didn't come out, but we did a EP with Midnight Love. What was the name of that song? It was Midnight Love, right? It was supposed to came out. We did a video for that particular song. So Snoop was still around. Snoop wanted to run the company. I'll be honest. He felt that he should have been left in charge at the time, and somehow he should have been. Suge had visions for Daz mainly to be, because Suge believed in producers. He wasn't that big on artists, I'll be honest. He thought they'd come and go. He believed in the production and producers. And so that's why he gave Daz a lot of ring that he got towards the end, was because Daz was a hell of a producer back then. The Dogfather, in our opinion, was whack as hell. We let him go off and do that with him and DJ Pooh at a separate studio. It wasn't even done at Can-Am. It was done at DJ's Pooh recording studio. And we wasn't happy with that album at all. That's why he was trying to come back with that EP Quik, with the Midnight Love and all of that. So we had all of those things that was going on. So you say that to say, well, he didn't want to do nothing for you. We had a 5 or 6 song EP. We could have took one of those songs off him and threw it on Gang Related or Gridlock. We just didn't want that because, in our opinions, we didn't like where Snoop head frame was at that time. His music wasn't there. He wasn't writing there. He just wasn't there, in our opinion. And that was mainly because his pens was gone. You didn't have Corrupt around helping him out writing songs and all of that. He had different people around him. Trey D and them, they all wasn't around him like that then. So that's why, in our opinion, that's probably why none of those songs was on Get Gridlock or Gang Related. But Snoop would have been down. He was still getting his monthly, his $50,000 a month. He still had my security on him. And so, he was still being taken care of. It wasn't until towards the end, he went and got on a song with Master P. And I think they gave him like $100,000 for a song or something like that. And I know they gave us $100,000. I don't know what they gave him. That he got on a song with them, and we was like, wait a minute, nigga, you going to get on these songs and you can't be doing that. But you don't deal with artists about that. We went at Priority and Master P. They cut us a check right quick for. We told them what we thought was a crazy amount for a song. Well, you remember when Tupac said that was the best song he got for $75,000 when Suge gave him $75,000. So we told him $100,000, and they cut that check and handed it over to the office the next day. Because I'm just trying to say, what numbers y'all equate to now and was back then. The numbers just aren't the same. But it was little stuff like that. And then Snoop was being a little disgruntled. He wasn't saying anything because his monthly would have got cut off. But there were deals in the place. Def Jam, people don't know. Leo Cohen came up there. Suge told him he wanted $13 million for Snoop at the time. Leo Cohen came back and offered him $8 million. He almost went for that deal, but Brian Turner came up the next day and, said, I can only come up with my half because Jimmy backed out. Jimmy was like, I don't want to be in the Snoop business. I don't want to deal with him. I'm done. I'm good, because he had No Doubt and Gwen and all of them. They were all doing Beck and, 9 Inch Nails. They were always winning for him then. And so, Eve was doing her thing and, Dre was, bubbling a little bit. I don't know if the Rough Riders was quite over there yet, but so he was like, I don't want to be involved. And so that's when Brian came and said, I can only come up with the $4.5 million, when she, told him how much to come up with and who to build it to. I always remember, I laughed when he said, build it to that country motherfucker. He didn't even know Pete's name back then. He was like, that country motherfucker you got over there, build it to him, let him go be with him. And I remember him telling him, man, just give me an override on the album. I think he ended up working out 7% and $4.5 million. And you can have him, Brian. I like you. And then at that time, we didn't have a deal. That's why, Dre said niggas with no deals, no cheese, the diss that he threw. But my point is, that's mad because I can finally feel my family. That was towards us, but that's when we didn't have a deal because Universal dropped us. That was one of the things that they put in that deal, that $1.5 million deal, that they won't be in business with us and can't be in business with us if Suge got in any trouble or anything. And so we had to drop that. We had to get away, and so that's when Brian came up and gave him gave him a little advance. We took our catalog from Universal Interscope to Priority Capital with what songs, Mr. Groupie, with Machiavelli and All Eyes on Me, took them and they started being distributed by Priority and Capital. Took the catalog and we was getting, an advance of $350,000 a month. So we went from $1.5 million to $350,000. But now we don't have, Pac, paying him advance, and we don't have to be advancing Snoop, Dre, David Kenner. There was a lot of people getting cut. And yeah, cars did start, from certain people, did start getting taken away because Suge I call him the grump of Christmas. Shit, I'm in jail, I'm in prison. I'm just taking care of myself. I ain't taking care of, niggas riding around looking good and all of that. So he did do a little bit of that, but it wasn't to Snoop. It wasn't to no major artists or anything like that. It was to some of the homies, Buntry, Trey. A whole bunch of people lost their cars and stuff during that time, and was disgruntled. And so that did happen. But that was mainly because the leases were up, or nobody was really wanting to f with Death Row at the time. You go from losing $1.5 million a month to $350 a month. Some things got to get cut.
Okay. After Snoop left, there was the incident at the at the Master P show or whatever. The guy who worked for No Limit, who was kind of Master P's right-hand man, did an interview recently, and I'll just tell you his kind of brief side of the story, and then you can kind of fill in the blanks or tell me, what was missed or what was accurate or not. So he basically said that you guys came around at the show and that Snoop kind of got out of pocket by breaking away from the rest of the No Limit people, and that one of you guys laid hands on him. He took off running. He ran directly into the police, and that he had like a pound of weed or something on him when he ran up to the cops. But where it changes is that he says when Snoop was running, that you guys were running after him, and then they started, the whole No Limit entourage ran after you guys, and that LAPD pulled the weapons on them, and that they, were ordered to get on the ground, that they turned around and went back into the arena, and that they saw you guys and quote unquote put you in check, and then they had the limos pull out front, and they went out with the crowd, got in their cars and got away. That was his short kind of version of it. Can you tell me your side of it from the beginning, as far as when you decided to go over there? What was the motivation and what was the plan?
Well, the motivation was there to go to talk to Snoop, because that's when he had just been released or signed his rights to P. And so, but he was being disrespectful at the time. So we was going to talk to him. We went to talk to him, me and P, because we had been on the phone dealing with each other, me and P, and a guy named Mark Benish. That's who ended up taking Snoop over to TVT Records and started running it. He used to be like the number 2, number 3 guy at Priority. His name was Mark Benish. So they were there. I was there kicking it with Mark Benish and talking to Mark Benish. And then P came over like, "What's up, Reg? How you doing, bro?" And, we talked for a minute, and I was like, "Hey, we need to holler at Snoop." Because, Snoop and them was off to the back and in a different room, in a green room. And so he said, "Yeah, Reg, go." And he took me and, showed me, "Hey, this is Reg and them from Duff Road. They need to holler at Snoop. They got some unfinished business they need to handle," is the exact words. And they left and they went and got on the stage. Left. So now Snoop and them, there with his people. Daz was even with him that particular night. And Daz was still with us. We was about to do a video shoot for Daz on that particular, in a week or two coming up. We had a budget for $350,000 to do a video shoot for him. And so I remember, so we go in there and I'm talking like, "Snoop, man, why you dissing the homie? You doing all this dissing and talking crazy. The dude let you go. You going to stop that, homie. You're going to be running around LA. You're going to stop that. Come on, Snoop, we bigger than this. It's all good, And Snoop was like, "Yeah, fuck that nigga," or, "that nigga did something," or he said something crazy. I said, "What?" Never heard Snoop talk like that. But he was high and he thought he had all those, I guess, soldiers with him or whatever, but they had left. I don't think he realized they had left. They went and got on stage. And so, like, Snoop. So I said, "Trey, you hear what that nigga said? I told Trey, you better bomb on that nigga." And Trey bombed on him. Snoop took off and ran, as in his own statements, in the police report, the report, or whatever y'all want to call that document. Because we knew where y'all was stationed at. Not how the old boy explains it. He said, "We knew where they were stationed at, so we ran towards y'all in fear of our lives." Dad's hollering, "They have guns, they have guns. They got guns." We go chasing them, trying to get away from them. By then, people were scared when, from the running and stuff, and they hear like what they thought were gunshots. Now the whole auditorium, the Universal Theater is emptying, but we're in a green room in a back room. We went a different way. We went out through the audience. I was smart, I knew it. We went out and mingled up within the crowds. They the one came running backstage and ran out towards the police and all of that way. That's why we didn't get jacked, because we went out through the auditorium and went out that way. And so we ain't made no contact. The next time I talked to Master P was the next day. Him and Snoop called me on the phone, and we all three had a conversation on the telephone. I ain't seen no limit soldier, no police or anything on that particular night. It was only about 5 or 6 of us, and we got out of there with no problems. Only thing Master P was like, "Man, Reg," luckily it was towards the end of the show, "Man, you cost me a couple of $100,000, man." And he just jokingly said that, but he ain't never asked or saying, "Y'all gonna pay me back?" Cause that's what we was been hollering. "You niggas gonna pay us back our money. We lost out," But he ain't said nothing like that. P just said, "Man, Reg, we gonna continue to have problems." And Snoop was on the phone. He said, "I got Snoop on the phone." And Snoop was like, "Reg, what's up? Every time we see each other, it's gonna be like this." I was like, "No, Snoop, you was the one, being disrespectful and kept talking and all of that." And I said, "But it's all good. We were just coming to holler at you, Snoop." I don't even think I have spoken to Snoop since then, or anything to deal with Snoop, other than when he did something for me on the Relatives, with the Relatives album. And that was through other people.
Okay, it's interesting how you talk about Daz being at the Universal Amphitheater situation with No Limit, you guys, even though he was there with Snoop. But I know it's a little bit down the line, but can you tell me more about when Daz and Suge had their final fallout that made Daz leave the label for good?
All right, so we got to backtrack a little bit. So this is all like in '98, I think. Daz did leave after that. Daz called, man, said, Reggie, I come up there beating and slapping on my cousin and this, and I ain't y'all no more and all of that. I ain't coming to no video shoot. No problem, Daz. Cool. Okay, Daz. I wanted to do this anyway. I was glad. That's when I came up with the idea to do that video. It's called It Might Sound So Crazy, the animation video, and did that video for that single on It Might Sound Crazy animated. If y'all know there's one thing that kills Daz and one thing that Daz loved is the camera. Daz was big on cameras back then. Daz was really a kind of innovator of all of this cheap camera stuff. Because Daz back in 98, 99 was talking about, I can get a camera for $10,000 and do a video to every song on my album. I gotta give Daz credit for that. That's how Daz was thinking back in 99, 98. But anyway, so Daz, so we stopped fucking with Daz for a minute. For a minute. But he was still under contract, still needed money, and we needed a producer and all of that, and hadn't brought Hutch back in yet. So anyway, me and Daz, we started back fucking with each other. That's how we got the Fool, Mac Shine, and all of them. We started back with Priest and Superfly. That's what it was. Because we was going to do an album, a song on Superfly. I forget the name of that song. I think we ended up putting it out on one of the soundtracks on Priest. Because he was really Daz's artist. And that was signed to us in the deal that we had with Daz. And so we stopped messing with Daz for about 4 or 5 months or whatever. And then Daz eventually came back. That's how we got him. That's how we got him. I wanted Crooked Eye bad. Big C Style had Crooked Eye. Daz had Superfly. Those were the two artists that we wanted. And so that's when I made a deal with C Style and Daz and was calling them DPG Records, I think. Something like that. We did an ad in the source and everything. And I think that's what's in your background right there. Where we was creating them a label up under Death Row, mainly because we was pissing off Snoop, trying to blow Daz up as a big time producer, like he winning over here. And that's when we did the red and blue rags, the blood rag and the Crip rag, like shaking hands or tied together. And that was their record label with us. And that's when we started taking care of Big C Style. And that's how we got the rights to both albums through that deal. And we messed with them for a little while. But then I pissed them off when I did a cross out. That's when Big C Style got mad. We did it and we put some people on it and we crossed out, I think, from DPG. We crossed out Snoop name and I forget who the other person was. Was it Corrupt? Somebody else. We did some cross out. Nate Dogg. We corrupted Nate Dogg and for that, then still Big C Style was like, Red, why you do that, man? You can't be doing that. You caused the problems. And then that's when we was like kind of through with them for a minute. But during that time also, Daz went up there to talk to Suge. And so now Daz wanted to do an album on himself. And this was when he coming up with, he gonna do videos and on every song and throw it out. I think MySpace might starting to blow up or something. Somehow he was gonna start putting videos out and doing $10,000, $15,000 videos. And I remember sitting in the interview room and Suge looked at Daz and said, Daz, you're a hell of a producer, man. Probably one of the best ones out here, producers. I'm never, ever going to do a solo album on you again in life. And Daz was like, no, I got these songs, I got these hits, I got this, I got this. He had this song with Usher that was blowing up on the radio. And that might have been a little earlier or something like that. But Daz was really believing he was a producer / rap artist. Daz was like, Suge was like, no, I swear to God on everything I love. Dad stood up, there was had tears in his eyes, and walked out of the visiting room. And that's when Daz and C-Style got cut off from that point on. So yeah, that's what happened with Daz.
Recently, DJ Quik did an interview where he had discussed that his mom had stopped him from being in the car with Suge and Tupac the night that they got in the incident in Vegas. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong, but was DJ Quik even around at when it came to September '96, or was because I remember there was an incident where a friend of his leaked the All Eyes on Me tape or whatever at the swap meet, but I didn't know if he was still cool with you guys at the time.
Let me just say this. If Quik was still around like that back during that time, the first place he would have been at and he would have performed at, and I don't know if he did or didn't. If he did, then yeah, he was still around. And that would have been the House of Blues. I'll even go back further. If he tell me or y'all show me footage of him being at the Mother's Day event that we had, where everybody performed from Hammer to Christopher Williams to Danny Boy, Tupac, of course the old group, with our boy that used to do the songs with Charlie Wilson, not Charlie Wilson, with R. Kelly, the Isley Brothers. The Isley Brothers, Escapes performed the year before, Michelet performed. Every artist on Death Row performed that particular day that were big, that had big names. I don't think groups like OTB and all of them performed, but groups performed at that particular show. Quik is just as big as any of them. These third tier, after Dre, Pac, Snoop, and all of them, Quik would have been performing there, especially at the House of Blues. Y'all just don't know how hard it was for Tupac Shakur to get into the House of Blues. There's actually a guy that did the draft party for Keyshawn Johnson, I forget his name, that was the one that brokered the deal to get us in the House of Blues. That wasn't even done on behalf of Interscope or Sharitha Night Management or anything like that. That was all done by this dude that had a relationship with Keyshawn Johnson, because we had just attended his draft party. I guess back in June or something like that, or May, they got us in there. But yeah, if Quik was with us like that, he would have been performing at the House of Blues on July the 4th. I don't remember Quik being around. To be honest, when me and him both got on a plane from Mexico from the Danny Boy video shoot, that's when I remember Quik saying, I didn't sign up for this shit. I'm not down with this anymore. And he told me that on the plane when we left Mexico in Cabo. And I don't remember him being around after that. So to say that they went to his house, to say that actually it was his sister that always controlled him, as I remember. I don't even ever remember Dylan or the mother being involved like that. But, okay. She might have told, I don't want you going to Vegas or anything but like they went there and was begging. I think people just try to put themselves in cars and situations that this ain't true. And that's why a lot of people don't like me and get mad at me, because I just kind of tell the truth. I just don't let anybody just say whatever they want. Because I can get up here and tell y'all all type of stories and make 50% of y'all believe it. And it'll be a lie. Me and Tupac used to go and fuck bitches together and do all of this, and y'all would believe that. I ain't never fucked nobody with him or Suge, But if I start putting that out there, y'all would believe it. Who could say it didn't happen?
You mentioned Quik said something on the plane ride coming back from Mexico from the Danny Boy shoot. Did something happen on that shoot that prompted him to be like, I'm not with this. I didn't sign up for this?
Yeah, it was a bunch of bullshit going on at the time. Yeah, I got to remember the Sam Snead thing had just happened like a week before in that meeting. Um, Corrupt and Pac and them was out there, and Nate Dogg and them was about to fight. I got arrested because everybody was riding around on no ATVs, driving all crazy. That's why I wanted to get the hell out of there because I got extorted for like $800-900 by the Mexican police. There was a lot of shit that happened on that video shoot because he had too many people around, and that people wasn't happy with. They had about 20 artists staying in one big. It was a nice house, but 20 Bloods and Crips in one house on a beach. No females really with us. It was a big fight at one of the clubs. Charlie's and Carlos, or Carlos and Charlie's, or whatever. Well, this chaotic, unorganized and chaotic. That was a video shoot from hell.
Can we talk a little bit about the infamous "got 'em" thing from Michael Moore, who did security for you? He had gotten on a documentary at one point and said that he had heard over the two-way radio in Vegas somebody say the words "got 'em." Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I remember I had tried to break that down when I was preparing to do my lawsuit against the documentary and the people. And what he claimed to happen, the Nextel radios wasn't even able to do at the particular time. But that's either here or there. We were inside of a nightclub, Club 662, when he allegedly heard this over the radio. Some people say that he said I said it. Some people say that it was a voice and it sounded like a white guy that said it over my radio. But y'all listen to what y'all hero like to say, or what he said about being inside of a nightclub. Okay. So y'all heard what y'all hero say for you? Because the ones that generally supports me and believe in and comprehend and understand, y'all pretty much know that it's impossible to hear anything inside of a nightclub with the music blasting and playing loud. So even if you're standing right, I've been whispering, talking in girls' ears, and they probably didn't half understood what the hell I was talking about or what I was saying. If you ever been in a nightclub, I know a lot of you little geeks that like to talk and punch in shit on the keyboard, and you probably never been in a nightclub or a lounge, a music lounge or something like that. But you can't hear what nobody's saying inside of a nightclub, barely. You usually put one hand in the ear and a finger in the ear and trying to got your face up to the other person's ear and trying to hear what they're saying. But for him to hear that on the radio, if it's true, I know it's made up. That nigga what was this, bionic woman? Who was the one that used to can hear shit with the ear? She used to go like this, put her hand behind the ear and can hear shit. I guess the nigga had bionic ears. So, but y'all heard what y'all hero had to say. So would y'all please stop that? Or go to a nightclub and try to talk to somebody and see how hard it is to hear something in a nightclub. But the answer to the question, it's not true. It's a lie. Why y'all don't want to believe what Keefe D said? Why would Keefe D make those statements and tell all of that if it wasn't somewhat true? Why? Let's really sit back and not try to be negative and understand, why would he say that? Okay, I know why he would say that. Because he was trying to get out of a murder case. Not a murder case, a drug case, doing life in prison. And he wanted to get out of that. And Greg Katie's made him do that and tell that lie. Okay. Greg Hades was investigating the murder of Biggie Small. Greg Hades would have got all type of awards and accolades and probably be consulting Law and Order right now or something if he would have solved that case. But he copped out to the murder of Tupac Shakur that happened in another state. Y'all don't know about feds got jurisdiction and control over certain cases, crossing state border lines and stuff like that. But once a cop in the state of California crosses the state line or in any other state, they have no more jurisdiction. So they don't care about solving cases in other states. Or listen, they got a letter from the police chief and somehow they're working it together. But they still really don't have no rights in those other states. So he would have been like, no, Keefy D. I need you to tell the lie. I need you to say you did, and you had something to do with the Biggie Small murder, not Tupac Shakur murder. Because I don't get no credit for that one. That's Vegas PD problem. Y'all think about it. Y'all think about what y'all be saying and what y'all be believing.
We talked about it one time on a live stream, or maybe it was one of our early interviews through the phone, but you had talked about a situation where Tupac had got upset because he was trying to take some dats or something from the studio, and he had called you to get a hold of Suge to talk about it. Can you retell me that story and tell me any detail about it that you remember? I know it was so long ago, but anything you could say about that?
Well, I don't think he called me. It was the security that actually called me because they used to get patted down. It had got so bad where people were stealing dats and trying to take their music home. Not the reels, not the 24-inch reels, the dats. Because everybody liked to ride around and listen to their music and all of that stuff. But bootlegging was big then. And now we kind of leak stuff purposely on the streets. People that's in the music business. Just to get a feel to see how it was going. But back then, you treated your music like gold. You didn't want it leaked prior to the street date or the release date. And I'm not saying Pac was doing that because he wasn't. He was smarter than that. But we had made the engineers and we came up with a list. They had to go to my security and my security had to call me to get a cassette to copy music on and stuff like that. So Pac used to always threaten the engineers and all of that. And so I'm sure they were doing stuff behind their backs or bringing tapes in, on their own or something like that and say, just use this tape. We ain't got to go through them to do that. I ain't dumb. I know stuff like that was out. But this particular day, Pac wanted the music and he was on one and he was, called and the security was like, Reggie, I want my music. And I forget if I let him take it or if not, or, got the Suge and Suge said, let him have it or whatever. I forget how that story went. But yeah, that had happened. But the main one I think you heard about was when they were trying to search him, when they had just came from the airport. And that's when he got upset. Like, man, we just came from the airport. Ain't none of my people who ain't got nothing. You ain't searching my people. We just all came from the airport, I was like, nigga. My security called me. I was like, Pac don't have to get searched. Because Pac and Snoop didn't get searched. Ever. They didn't. But all the other niggas is with you getting searched. Or they ain't coming in there. And so, yeah, we had that incident and issues and Pac was all mad and he used to get mad and stuff like that. But he wasn't mad. You gotta remember when he used to get mad, it usually be about something else or to get to Suge or to get Suge calling him to talk to him. Because, it'd be sometimes when Suge be like, I ain't fucking with that nigga right now. We do that to our people. I don't feel like talking to him right now. I ain't talking to him right now. He tripping. He on one or something like that. And so him and Snoop both knew what to do to get, especially Pac, to get the Suge. They knew what to do. Trip on the security. They gonna call Reggie. And Reggie was usually always with Suge and he usually would get to the phone or get some type of reaction. And so that's all Pac was doing. Yeah.
After Tupac passed, was there a stipulation to where Death Row had the rights to put out another Tupac album? Because I know that the groupie guy had mentioned that as far as saying that the bankruptcy, that they were basically saying the biggest piece of the bankruptcy, if you bought Death Row out of it, was that you had the rights to put out a Tupac album, and that there were these reels that Death Row had held on to that they didn't turn over to Interscope, or this person said it was to Afeni, even though you already cleared that up prior to this.
Let me explain what the
Go ahead.
groupie done read. He done found on Google, which y'all all can buy. The information that Mr. Groupie is referring to. You all can buy it on the website. Matter of fact, John, while you up there, were you trying to pull up that website and tell people where they can go buy this paperwork at, if you know where it's at? Yeah. But you can buy it. People sell the agreements online. I got them in there. When I get back right, I'm going to be breaking out paperwork like crazy, since y'all like seeing paperwork, because I got all the paperwork and contracts and stuff, because I was the person that the bankruptcy court sent everything to. But let me just say this. This is how the deal went. I'm going to break the whole deal down to you. Of course, Machiavelli was coming out, which came out after he died. So that kills that theory right there, what he's talking about, because Machiavelli eventually came out. But yeah, there was 3 albums done, All Eyes on Me, Machiavelli, and there was another one. They always try to say, well, 3 albums was because All Eyes on Me was a double CD. You got some fools that try to say that, and it was 3. I heard they tried to make that claim before. I'm talking about the attorneys. So he did 3 albums. He did a double one, then he did Machiavelli. And but that didn't hold water. But forget all of that. This is what he's referring to, that he found that his comprehension. Well, you know what? He did his opinion. I'm just gonna call him opinion, because it's like an asshole. We all have one, right? So that's what his opinion is to me. But what happened was, we did a deal with the estate to put out all the I don't want to mess Suge up a little bit, because I told him, I said, there's only about 3 or 4 albums left of music left to put out. And so the deal that Suge had me negotiate with them was, we was going to do 3 albums on Tupac, which we ended up doing, I think, like 4 or 5. But just to kill it, we was going to do 3 albums on Tupac. We was going to do a greatest hit album, and we're going to do an Outlaws album. So there was Tupac Still I Rise album, and then there was, of course, the ones we eventually did Until the End of Time, Better Days. I always forget the third one, the other album. But anyway, and then they did one with him that Death Row still was a part of. So I didn't think it was that many songs left, and we tried to use up all the album. All the music. And so then, after we used up all the material, which we luckily had a provision in there, where after we used up all the music, because if y'all don't realize it or notice, E1 distributed that last album. It was done by E1, not Interscope, which also goes to kill your boy claim that he was just an Interscope artist. One of the albums was just done by E1 and the state and Death Row. Park Life or something like that. It was one of the particular albums. Is that true, John?
Yeah, Pog's Life was the name, but that one still went through Interscope. I think the only ones that went through E1 were the remixed album, the New Mix Classics
albums.
New
Mix Classics, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the albums, which kills your boy claim as well, the groupie claim, went through the New Mix album. Interscope wasn't even involved in that. But okay, enough of that. Park Life, Until the End of Time, Better Days, and Still I Rise, Tupac Greatest Hits. Were all the albums that was done with us and the estate and Interscope. Now, Tupac did, Suge did get his deal bumped up from 18 points to 25 points. So he got 25 points on those albums out there. They sold so many records or so many units, which meaning Amaru got. So my point is, what we did, what was the agreement was done was, okay, so not All Eyes on Me or Still I Rise, Machiavelli, Tupac Greatest Hits, which was only 2 new songs from us and 2 new songs from them, meaning Interscope, or Tupac, because Interscope relinquished their rights to the estate, the control. So they contribute 2 songs, we contribute 2 songs to the Greatest Hits album. So Death Row will only own Still I Rise, All Eyes on Me, and Machiavelli. After 10 years, and this is when the bankruptcy thing kicked in, Suge had a right to purchase an album worth of Tupac music that he would own outright. And other than those 3 albums that I just mentioned, everything else would revert to the estate, meaning all the other songs. So what my plans was is to buy all the hits. I was like, okay, we just go and get all the songs that wasn't out, not All Eyes on Me, not Machiavelli. We will always own those recordings. But any songs that were put out during that time, other than an album work, now that's where it got crazy, Suge Knight. He was like, well, we only put out double CDs, so it should be a double. It's 24 songs. And they will always say, no, you're only getting 12 songs. So that was going to be an argument. We always say, okay, we'll deal with that in 10 years when it's time to split. But the bankruptcy came prior to that. So that's what he's reading into that he doesn't understand or knows. But that's what happened with the separation agreement or the agreement that we made when we made the settlement, that we were to own an album worth of songs in 10 years once everything was put out. So yeah, that's what the deal was.
So Suge is going to get released in 2001. You would have been running the label since 97, 98.
97.
Yep, 97. So prior to Suge actually getting released, can you tell me what the atmosphere was at the label, what some of the plans were, and what kind of, you had in mind for what Suge was going to do when he got out, and what actually happened versus what you hoped would happen?
Yeah. Well, what actually happened was when he came home, we had no more lawsuits, not a one lawsuit. Only we didn't even have the Harry accusation made yet. The only thing that was pending over our heads was a RICO investigation, which when Suge came home in October of that year, that we already had worked out, when it played out to a misdemeanor failing to file taxes on the corporation, on Death Row Records. That's all that was found after all of that. And in November or something like 2001. Okay, so the plan was to find a new star, which that's always the plan. You're always looking for your next star. Because y'all look at most of these stars, none of them go that long, They venture into other things. Tupac would have been a major movie star probably by now. Or I even think he probably would have eventually tried to run for office or something if he could have got his record expunged. But that was I think his goal was trying to be some type of leader, into movies. I don't think he would be rapping right now. Probably having people signed to him and mentoring them and all of that. Don't really think he would be rapping right now. But anyway, I do believe that we was looking for a star. We tried the gimmicks, the realest gimmick, Top Dog, and Milkbone. Most of y'all don't know about Milkbone. Milkbone was our fake Eminem. And So we tried that. Public hated that. Hated that. And so none of that worked. So now we was into Superfly and Crooked Eye. Those were going to be the artists. In my mind, this was Reggie talking. When Suge came on, he had a whole totally different game plan. He still had Crooked Eye on the team. But, I mean, he had people like, Cisco trying to come through, the guy that did the Thong song. Lisa Left Eye, of course, she popped up and came through. Who else? Who else was around us? Jay Valentine, the R&B singer.
Jay Valentine. You had Ray J come back around.
Ray J a little bit. Ray J was always really just hanging around. He never really blew up or came around. That was committed to us. I think his mom asked for like $1 million for him to sign, and we thought that was ludicrous. And quite frankly, we didn't have it at that time. And so that wasn't going to happen. Keisha Cole was hanging around. She had came back around, but she hadn't blew up yet. So it was little stuff like that. That was the Suge's plan. My plan was only, to be honest, was Crooked Eye. And anybody that y'all saw on Chronic 2001, but really Too Gangsta for Radio. I was trying to hope one of those artists blew up off of that. I mean, I signed people from Texas, VK as a female rapper, SKG as a female rapper. We were looking. We put them on. We put Top Dog on that All About You video. We did that video and took Nate Dogg verse out. No, Snoop verse. And put Top Dog on that. We tried that. That didn't work. But yeah, we did the Cinderella video, with Top Dog. That worked for what we were trying to do. Most of y'all don't know, Snoop was about to blow back up before Bitch Please. He had this song by Dana Dane called Cinderella that he had tried to put out. And we put that out at the same time. And radio was like, we ain't playing neither one of them. We ain't getting involved in that. We ain't working neither one of them. Yeah. And so that's all we was trying to do then. And that worked because radio wouldn't touch either one of them. So yeah, that was the plan. We did the DVDs. Nobody had did that before. That wouldn't go as far as selling DVDs through a company. I went out and found this company called Ventura Distribution out in Thousand Oak area, and they were doing the Billy Blank CDs. The guy that used to work out and stuff like that, and they did a good job of putting that DVD out. That did real well for us. Then I went after that and had them do The Murder Was the Case and put it out on DVD. The CD, Murder Was the Case. The DVD, Murder Was the Case. That little 5 or 6 minute video. So yeah. Matter of fact, we need to put that up on our channel one day, Don. That's under Simon Says Films / Suge Knight Films, which is my company. So if anybody try to strike it, I don't know about the music part. I don't know. We have to investigate that. We definitely should put it on Facebook Watch. Maybe something, because I own that DVD. That wasn't taken into bankruptcy.
Okay. And you own Simon Says Publishing. Can you tell me, from what you remember, the artists that you did buyouts with that were at Death Row at the time, to where you may own a claim in their back publishing?
I want to put those names out because I want to get all my paperwork together. And that's why people mad now, because they were wondering, why we ain't get checks? Why we never get paid by E1? Why E1 and Universal holding up all our money? And that's why. Because I sent a letter over to them telling them, hey, give me some time to show y'all that, but I did buyouts on all these people. And they know it. It's in there. It's on there. Y'all see some stuff called 99 Productions or 99 Produced by 99. Do y'all know that's an agent? Y'all know what Agent 86 and Agent 99 is? That was all code word for us back then. Myrons. What's Myron mean? Y'all know what Myron mean? Y'all see those producers? Y'all ever heard of any producers called Myron? And y'all go look at all of these songs and Simon Said Productions and Big Simon and all that. Y'all don't know who any of those people are. Those are no such people. But it's somebody that owns all that. Somebody that got paperwork under all of that. And people got real cash for their rights on that because they needed it. Or they needed the opportunity. One thing we learned, there's a term out there, don't fatten the frog to feed the snakes. And so that was our thing there. We wasn't committing long-term deals to nobody. But we were going to see who blew up. Then from there you go and get. The only person that got over on me on that deal, especially when I let them get on a Tupac song, and I remember calling going off on them. Darren Vega, Crooked Eye, and Jim Giddens. And all three of those still my boys. I told them, y'all come and do a buyout. I'm buying out that song because I let them remix one of Tupac's songs and do some producer work on one of their songs. And those three niggas were smart enough. Somehow they got a hold of Molly. And then when they did poly paper, I was like, how the hell y'all gonna do paperwork with them? And it's like, oh, we didn't know. I said, okay. All right. I think we unwinded it, but I remember there was the only three. They called AM7. They had some group called, some producer team they were trying to do. Y'all hit Crooked Eye up here, tell y'all 7-something?
777, I think.
What was 777?
777, yeah.
777. Y'all see that? They were the only ones that were smart enough to do it. But yeah, other than that, all that's stuff that wasn't done by either Johnny J or Tupac or something like that. Simon Says. And that money's been held.
The infamous Soul Train Awards, 1996. It was the first time that Tupac and Biggie saw each other after Tupac had gotten released from prison. Can you give me a detailed account of what happened the night of the Soul Train Awards, in the sense of, at what point did you guys know you were going to go? At what point did you know what the plan was going to be? At what point did you get all the sweatshirts for people? Like, how did all the planning go into that? And then how did everything escalate in detail on that night?
So what happened on that? I mean, there were plans of going and then not going, to be honest. Suge wanted Tupac to open up the Soul Train Music Awards. He felt Tupac should have been over. It was on the West Coast. Tupac had just won the, no. But anyway, had the great album out, Me Against the World. And so Suge felt that Tupac should have opened up, had All Eyes Out on Me blowing up at the time. That's only 2 or 3 months in of All Eyes on Me being out. But Biggie was also hot. And quite frankly, had a better year in 95, which was what the award show was for. Even though it happened in 96, it was really for songs that was done in 95. Y'all gotta admit, Biggie album was better than, I don't know, I ain't gonna say. In my opinion, Biggie album was getting more radio play and more traction than Me Against the World. My opinion. I'm sure a lot of y'all gonna tear me up about that. And so Don Cornelius, I guess, agreed. He felt Biggie, him performing, opening up the show would be best. And Suge wanted Tupac to open up the show. So Suge was like, we ain't going, because they were saying Tupac can close the show, be the closing act there. Because he definitely wasn't going to go after Biggie. So the big things in the award shows, for y'all don't know, back then, I don't know the game now, so I don't know. But it was the opening act usually get the most views, and the closing act usually get, to close out the show usually be good. But as we always know, they end up rushing you and cutting you off because, especially on black shows, they usually run over the time. But anyway, so Suge was like, I ain't going. And then he was like, okay, we going. And so he told Don Cornelius, kept blowing him up. Blowing him up. You gonna do the show? You gonna do the show? I got a special surprise for you. You gonna be happy, young man? You know, that's how Don Cornelius talk. You gonna be happy if you come. So she was like, okay, I'm gonna come. I'm not the one, I'm gonna be honest. That was a guy named Victor Welch. I don't know who thought of getting the t-shirts or the P-Funk on sweat tops done. I don't know. But I know Victor Welch was the one that rounded up and got a whole bunch of the Pirus and the Bloods from Compton to come. And all those niggas showed up to the office and had those shirts and was wearing those shirts. I was like, damn, it's gonna be ugly. And so that's when I learned, I learned that they were planning on being chaotic at that particular show. Quite frankly, the plan was to pull Biggie off the stage while he was performing. I'm not saying anything will happen, just to pull him off the stage wearing those particular shirts. And so I kind of got word of that. Me and the guy that kind of ran the security at the Shrine Auditorium was kind of cool. Plus I was cool. You know, I'm cool with the Muslims, Shaheed and Minister Oliver, who's out there in Atlanta now. Shout out Oliver, I heard you out in Atlanta now. Got a little chapel or something like that, captain out in Atlanta now. And so I was like, hey, don't let all those niggas in at one time that's wearing those shirts. It ain't gonna be nice. You know, so I'm still, you know, got a little police in me and stuff like that. And so now we pull up to the award show in the back. Now, cause those niggas is not smart, or they wouldn't been smart. They all thought everybody, Don Cornelius was gonna let us all just drive on the back lot of that show. It's like, oh no, this your security and the artists coming in. Everybody else gotta go park in the, you know, general admission and parking. So they all had to turn around, go and get in the parking. But by that time, Suge in his Hummer, he got, I think, Danny Boy and some of the Outlaws and Pac in the Hummer. And it's just me and Frank. I'm riding with Frank in this car, Frank Alexander. And in his little 300, I think he was in his 300, he had a 300Z and a Mercedes he had won from a bodybuilding contest. And so we drive in behind them. And immediately as we pulling up and getting to where, you know, you get out of your cars and walk up, Biggie and Puff, Gene says no. I know Puff when I see Puff. I may not know Keefy and C. Gutter or whatever his name is. Well, I know Puffy and Biggie. They walking out our location. We see them. Now, Gene admitting now, you remember in our interview, he said he put him in a chokehold or had him, you know, hiding in a closet or standing there. Now, he's admitting that Puffy ran. I don't know if y'all caught that, but he's saying Puffy did take him and run in between some trailers and stuff like that. Like I said, Puff did. But anyway, they come, and I always told y'all what Biggie did. Biggie just stood there. He didn't run or anything. And so now we have this confrontation. We jump out of the car, and one of the guys who, I agree with Gene now. If Gene said it, the guy said it. I always said it was Keefy D with him. Keefy said he wasn't there. Gene said it. Gene don't say he wasn't there. He just said it wasn't Keefy D that pulled the gun out. He said it was a guy named C. Gutter. I'll give him that. But I know the dude didn't raise that gun. He pulled it out and kept it down low. Me, I got my gun out, pointed at him, telling him, dog, don't raise that gun, because if he raised that gun, he's getting popped that night. And so, Pac behind me, of course, trying to wrestle me with the gun, talking about shoot him, Red, shoot him. You know, like I said, Biggie Small didn't move. He just stood there. Now, the joke was always, yeah, the nigga too fat because he couldn't move. But shit, when you see a gun pointed at you, I don't care how fat or how big or how crippled you are, you're going to get away. So I always put it that, Big had a little heart right there. And so, yeah, that's what happened. Oh, Pac eventually goes inside the auditorium. This is where it get crazy when my boy said, and I don't know how he able to say that, because they left immediately. He always say, we jumped in the limousines and left. I'm talking about Gene and all of them. They got in limos and left. But then he's able to tell you, oh, Pop went on the stage. He got the gun. I mean, he got his award that night. When we got video evidence all throughout there that said, what? Pac was not here. He was unable to attend. And we accept this award on his behalf. That's on the internet. For those of y'all say, Reggie Line, there go Reggie Line again. Okay, go pull that up. My point is, what I know has happened is Pac and Suge walked around the auditorium, Pac yelling, West Side, West Side, West Side, in his fatigues and stuff, walked all around in a circle at the auditorium and came straight out and got escorted out, and we left the Shrine Auditorium that night without any further incident and went to our after party we had.
Okay. If the incident in Vegas never happened, right? And everything went as planned. You guys came back a couple of days after the Vegas thing. What do you see that would have happened differently as far as the Machiavelli release and as far as the Dogfather release? Do you feel anything would have changed with, especially the Dogfather one, in the sense that it only makes sense that for Tupac to be on that album, other than what happened in New York? Did you hear of anything as to why they weren't on each other's albums, or was it because of when Tupac got upset in New York?
Yeah, and I don't remember the exact time frame, but like I said, DJ Pooh did that productions over at a different studio. He wasn't at Can-Am every day. I think at that time Tupac had both studios going. I don't even think Danny Boy was able to get studio time then, or anybody. I think Tupac was working both. They were working the One Nation album, the Machiavelli album, because which I don't like to hear or know is Tupac also had reality setting in where he was possibly going back to prison on that appeal bond. So he was working like crazy and had both studios going. Even Hammer had a different studio that he was working at. He wasn't even working at Can-Am. So it was hard to get studio time during that period, that point of time. And so it could have been that. Hopefully that's what it was. But yeah, that's what happened. I really can't speak on why anybody from the Dog Pound or Tupac wasn't on the Dog Pound. Well, not the Dog Pound, but why Tupac wasn't on any of those tracks, other than Wanted Dead or Alive. They did that song together. That was a jump off from two of America's Most Wanted. They were similar songs. But yeah, not sure.
Okay. Can you tell me what your thoughts are on Snoop purchasing the label and then, I know it's been not very long since he purchased it, but what your feelings are that he's done with it so far, or what he's announced that he plans to do with it? Do you have any feelings on that?
None other than, and people got this perception that I have dislike for Snoop or something like that. One, I always tell y'all he's my what? I tell y'all, he's my favorite artist over Pop. Him and Ice Cube, to be honest. That's the music or the era that I grew up in. I was a little younger. And so I like their music. But All Eyes on Me is my favorite album. Even though I love them as their songs as a whole, I love Murder Was the Case album and All Eyes on Me are my two favorite albums still to this day. And then go back to Ghetto Boys, Your Mind's Playing Tricks on Me album. Those are my three favorite albums. But I wish him nothing but success. It's not what all y'all think as far as him, the ownership and stuff like that. It's a financial deal for both sides. But he does have a lot of rights and a lot of pull with the guy. But like Eazy-E said, their success is a payday for Reggie Wright, because a lot of that music publishing is owned by Big Simon Says or Simon Says Music. And so if he blow that up and do well with that, I only need 25% of that, whatever's generated on the music publishing side. I don't need a whole lot of money to live. That's generation money. Once that start blowing, then I go ahead and make those claims. It's generation money just sitting there. Well, a few millions. But the way I live now, don't take much for me to live. So yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me about the night that Snoop got acquitted for his trial? Everybody, obviously that was the night that the Sam Snead stuff happened. We all know about that. But can you talk a little bit about the celebration after the trial and some of the jury members being at the celebration, and if that seemed not awkward but just seemed normal, or was that out of place for the jurors to be hanging out with the person who was just on trial?
Yeah. Well, if I only had my criminal justice experience was only from TV, I would think that was abnormal. But being in the law enforcement, knowing a little bit about the judicial system, I know that that's not uncommon. For one, number one, jurors to talk and give interviews and write books and stuff like that after a big trial like that goes on. But two, and more importantly, for defense attorneys and DAs or U.S. attorneys to talk to jury members after a verdict come down. The judge don't always put gags, very rarely put a gag on the jury members from talking. They pretty much tell you can talk to both sides and talk to people so you can tell them where they went wrong at. They use it as training where, okay, why did y'all vote not guilty? What? And they'd be like, well, because we didn't like when witness so-and-so did this or said that. And so now they learned and they know. DAs use it so if they decide to retrial, if it's a hung jury, where they can do better the next time, on that particular witness or expressing that particular thing, being like, well, we wanted to hear from this person and y'all never presented them. And so for the seat of jurors there and after the trial, now if I would have saw them around or something like that before the trial was completed, then I would be like, oh, some bullshit going down. But afterwards, that's not uncommon. The jury knew about it. They were invited. They were invited at the courthouse. It ain't like David Kenner and them had their private home numbers and said, hey, we're having a party at Monty's. He told them that in the courtroom. And so, yeah.
Okay. Can you give me a rundown of what happened at the Source Awards in 2000 when all the Death Row artists, I think they were wearing either the Death Row Uncut T-shirts or the Two Gangster for Radio T-shirts. I can't remember which ones. It was the red shirts where I think Snoop got confronted, Eminem got confronted. Can you tell me a little bit about that incident and what transpired that night?
Well, it was like 2 or 3 different ones. And so the one with Pasadena where DJ Quik got into it, that was probably the Two Gangster for Radio T-shirts. The Chronic 2000 T-shirts were black. And I don't remember that one. The one where Eminem got confronted that was in Pasadena. And that was done like when I had the Dog Pound. That's when Das and Corrupt was still around, because we had them present an award at the, because they were the only West Coast representative on there. And I was like, wait a minute, y'all not gonna have no award show out here, and y'all have no West Coast acts representing, performing, or presenting any awards at the Source Awards. It's not going down here. And that's when they said, okay, Reg, what y'all want? I said, and that's when Dad's album was coming out. So I want Dad's to present an award at this award show. And you know, they was like, okay. And, you know, they acquiesced to that. And so that's the one where the M incident happened. But the only thing I remember about that night, and I heard on Cam Capone's, his bodyguard kind of talked about it, where my boy Pooh Ryder, rest in peace, Pooh, he had him when him went walking by and he jumped up, and those niggas from Pacoima jumped up, and they was about to get him. But this dude that was always the one that actually found him for Interscope, not Dre, not Jimmy, this dude named Dean, who was Jimmy's assistant at the time. He's the one that found the mixtape and gave it to Jimmy. He was with him. And he looked at me and was like, Reggie. Like, Reggie saved me, like a little puppy dog. Like, Reggie saved me. And I couldn't let nothing happen to him with Dean there. Because Dean was always good to me. Whenever I needed to get to Jimmy, he would make sure that Jimmy got to me or got back with me. And so that's the main incident that happened at that particular one. Now, there was one that happened in Pasadena. That's when everybody was on the stage, and we just tore that one up. But that came later. That was like in 2000, 2001 when that particular incident happened.
I wanted to get your thoughts on this whole thing about Tupac not being a death row artist. I know we touched on it in a previous video, but I just wanted to get, after thinking about it for a while and hearing what, this person had to say, can you respond to the accusation that Tupac was not, I know it sounds crazy, but can you respond to him claiming that Tupac was not signed to death row and that he was just representing death row and that Suge was his manager?
Yeah, I mean, Suge, I don't hate to let the cat out the bag. Well, hopefully by the time this year, Suge would have been on the radio, on our channel. Because he's coming to our channel to do an interview for us. And I really want him to answer that and to be caught blindside from it. Because I know once he hear that, he's going to be like, huh? What? What are y'all talking about? Or there's a lady out there named Dina LaPote. Y'all hit her up on IG, Dina LaPote, and let her, y'all ask Dina LaPote that. Pac, it don't make sense. I mean, of course you got paperwork with him and his record. Maybe we can get Antoine Grady or whatever his name, that manager, to tell it. Because he even tried to bring some agreement in 98. He had told y'all, Tupac in his own words, so I had fired my management. I had got rid of everybody that was involved with me prior to, after Me Against the World and stuff. I got with you in death row. You came and got me out of jail. This is own word audio with Tupac in his own words. And y'all want to listen to a groupie that take pictures with everybody on the fucking internet that he can do. You can tell the way the people looking in the pictures like, let me hear him take a picture with this nigga. I seen one with him and Anthony Anderson just recently. And he was like, Anthony Anderson was looking off somewhere else. Like, that is not how friends greet each other or take pictures with each other. That's how you take pictures with somebody that's bugging you. Look at that picture with him and Anthony Anderson. But anyway, my point is, it's crazy. I hate even addressing it because I wish it would have. Then why would they sue or should pay out a settlement or a judgment or take all of that publicity or credibility of not paying Pac royalties and all of that if it was Interscope's responsibility. If he wasn't signed, why would you let someone do a deal with you? Why would you do a deal with someone and be called a manager, which only gets 20%, and allow people to sue you and not sue the company that actually owns you? I get baffled when I even talk about it because it's crazy. It's stupid for people to even believe it. But, hey, okay. He wasn't signed to Death Row. Let's see how it plays out. I know the streaming rights is going to the estate. But those CDs, those master recordings of a CD, is still going to be owned by either Snoop or the company that owns E1. The estate are not getting those CDs to be able to distribute. Only the streaming rights. But y'all see. And Interscope don't have. Why is those CDs owned by E1 and not Interscope? Why didn't Interscope say, hey, y'all can take everything away from us, but y'all can't have out Machiavelli, and y'all sure in the hell ain't getting all eyes on me? I don't think Koch ever or E1 ever distributed greatest hits. They did that on those songs because that was a combination done. I think Interscope still distribute those if they still out there. But they sure in the hell don't own the CD versions of All Eyes on Me and Machiavelli. Whether Snoop won't get them or not, I don't know. I can't say. But the estate don't have them. They just have the streaming rights. Dr. Dre got both Chronic and the streaming rights because of the deal that they made, because they had owed him so much money. They was like, here, take this album back. You can have it after a certain date. We don't pay you no money. You take this, the hard copy and the streaming copies away. Why y'all think Dre's attorney came out real quick and said, oh no, you don't own this. He ain't getting this. They jumped right on that. Don't y'all think the estate would have jumped right on that if any of that was true? Or Interscope? Y'all don't know Peter Paterno or Lopez, I forget his name, and Jimmy Iovine are best friends. So can't say that they haven't heard about it. You know, Interscope I'm talking about now. Because they heard about it. And the show, y'all, that Jimmy still, even though he's not on paper, he's on paper as being an executive at Apple now, still has a lot to do with helping his nephew run Interscope. Who did Dr. Dre and Mary J. Blige say on the interview that was on the call when they asked Mary to perform at the Super Bowl? He said, me and Jimmy called. And Jimmy was like, Dre, stop beating around the bush. Tell Mary it's the Super Bowl. And Mary's like, I'm on board. Y'all go pull that interview up and see that. That shows you right there that Jimmy's still involved in Interscope Records.
Okay. In the Vegas situation with Orlando Anderson, had, Keefe D and them not pulled up on Tupac and everything went along fine, do you feel like that tape could have possibly sent Tupac back to prison because he was out on, an appeal bond?
Yeah, I heard the groupie speak on that Pac was going back to jail. Whew, man. All right, y'all. There's interviews out there that Brennan and Ladd, the Compton PD's cops, tell y'all. Y'all can tell from the video that's there with Orlando. Tupac didn't talk to them. Orlando didn't talk to them. They didn't know who the hell Orlando Anderson was until Brennan and Ladd told them who Orlando Anderson was. Nobody knew about that beatdown until after Pac got shot and killed and later died, is when they started investigating to why that happened, the why. It would have just been an assault. Nobody would have, Suge would have never got violated. Pac would have never, well, he wouldn't have got violated either if that shooting wouldn't have occurred. Because nobody would have cared, investigated, or anything worried about no Orlando getting assaulted. Only reason Vegas PD contacted Compton PD looking for who that LA gang member was because they were investigating a murder involving Compton guys. And that's why Brendan and Ladd recognized Orlando and told them who Orlando Anderson was, and they went and talked to Orlando. So you wouldn't have had a victim, an assault victim. Nobody would have ever heard about that incident if that shooting wouldn't have happened. Even if an anonymous informant would have called and said, Tupac, they wouldn't have cared. They would be like, well, we don't know who the victim is. The MGM in Vegas would have been like, okay, we don't know who the guy is. Only reason that case got that much attention was because of the murder that happened on a Las Vegas Strip. And then it been involving Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur. So let that sink in, y'all. And stop listening to that groupie and people just with their opinions on what would have happened, what would have, that don't know what they be talking about.
So, at the time that you were running the label when Suge was incarcerated, I don't think people fully comprehend all the success that the label had when you were running it, as far as all the albums that came out when you were running the label. Can you talk a little bit about some of the success that the label had, and that how most people just kind of want to frame you into that security box where after 1996, 97 is when you actually became president of Death Row, and not so much the security, if that is that accurate?
Well, I wouldn't call it president. He ain't never gave me that title.
Okay.
And everybody claims that title, from Daz to Michelet to, I even heard Hutch, Brother Law 187, all called himself the president. But then in the next breath, they always say, well, we had to go to Reggie to get the checks, permission to get the checks. So you're the president, but Reggie was the one who ultimately got you your check approved or not, which is funny to me, but everybody want to be president. But I never was the president. I was just the general manager. I never even really put myself as a title. I purposely didn't. I was just Reggie. But that owned a security company that supplied security work for Death Row. But yeah, it was a lot of albums I was in charge of, and DVDs and stuff like that. I don't know them offhand. Maybe you can pull it up right quick and tell it. But from anything that came out between 1997 and 2002, yeah, I mean, I was the one that had the final say. You know, and I had people around me, Daz, Hutch. I brought this dude back for a minute, but he was fucked up. I didn't know he had AIDS, and he was dying, and I should have known his head wasn't in the game. Kevin Lewis, when I tried to help me with the Chronic 2000, and I was like, damn, I took Chronic 2000. Yeah, Chronic 2000. I had to go back and remaster that with Big Bass Brian. I was like, what's up with Kevin? I said, I was in there, we was on our way up to see Suge in prison up in St. Louis Obispo. And I was listening to it, I said, man, that vocal is low. Look how I got to turn my stuff up. I was like, Kevin, so his head wasn't in the game no more. But Kevin Lewis, Hutch, that's when I went and got Hutch after that, from the Brother Law, 187. You know, the realist was real instrumental with telling me what was good and what was not. You know, so he had a very big, him and Kurt Cobain, my boy Kurt Cobain was real instrumental. Yeah, those were the guys. But go ahead, John. You should have the list by now. You can tell.
Yeah. So the albums were Gridlock soundtrack, Lady of Rage album, gang related soundtrack, Daz album, Michelet album, Tupac Greatest Hits, Chronic 2000, Death Row Uncut DVD, Tupac and Outlaw Still I Rise, Murder Was the Case DVD, Two Gangster for Radio, Snoop Dead Man Walking, Tupac Until the End of Time, The Dog Pound 2002, and Snoop Dogg Death Row's Greatest Hits, and then Tupac Better Days.
Correct. And also they got major deals with 4 different record companies after Priority. It was instrumental in getting a company. They went bankrupt on us, but that's what got me good with E1. I mean with Chakach. This company called D3 and DNA out in, from D3 was actually like Interscope. They did the ones that did the remastering of a lot of the music for us and remastered and we put out the CDs. And that was with a company called DNA who went belly up. And then we got the deal with Koch. And then also Ron Winter Productions. We had some ownership in that song with Craig Mack. What was the name? Mack? The guy in the UK.
Mark Morrison?
What
right?
was the
Return of the Mac, Mark Morrison?
Yeah, Return of the Mac. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I love that song to be on the internet now with that white lady that IG. She be bumping to that song and she be dancing to it. Y'all ever check out that on IG? It's funny with that song. But yeah, the DVD company Ventura put them on the map. Ron Winter's production put him on the map. And so yeah, so there was a lot of big deals that went down during that time. And so hey, but I'm just a little black security guard from Compton, but I put my resume on CD sales up to be in the top 10 in hip hop. I bet y'all can't tell 10 record labels that did better than I did from that time period of record sales. From that period of 1997 to 2002, y'all can't tell me 10 executives out there sold more records than I did. Name them. Y'all tell me in the comment section.